Hello, creative, and welcome back to the Empowered Creatives podcast, finding confidence between hustle and burnout. I'm your host, Victoria Hines, creative career coach, helping creatives just like you navigate those career hurdles, twists, and spins. My guest this week, we met through, I feel like, very serendipitous occasion. We met because we were going to talk about instructional design and ended up hitting it off. And I've learned of what an incredible creative she is and what she's doing on social media. So I just had to have her on the show because I think she has some really great information to share with everybody. So my guest this week is Jen Dove, aka Tech Girl Jen, on all the major social media platforms. And she is an influential edutainer and lifelong educator with an impressive social media following. I'll let you go check it out via the show notes below. She's just stepped into social media influencer role this year and has already grown a massive following. What is it? Over 100K on Instagram?
So Instagram, I just crossed 212K.
Oh my
just
gosh.
This week. Yeah.
All right. As we're recording this. So who knows what it's going to be when it comes out?
Maybe it'll be 213. Let's hope.
Maybe. I believe in you. I believe in you, especially after this podcast episode.
All right. That's right.
Anywho, she's breaking down barriers for those who are less technically inclined. Her niche is making technology simple, especially iPhones, by sharing nifty tips and tricks. She's taught me a few that I had no idea about, even though I've known an iPhone for 10 years, roughly. And she's also an avid thespian and actor who's deeply involved in her community theater. And she has hopes and dreams to one day open up her own black box theater in Ohio.
Yeah. Yep.
Correct? That's where you're at? Yeah. So welcome to the show, Jen.
Thank you so much, Victoria, for having me. So happy to be here.
I'm so excited for this conversation. I feel like we have a lot of really fun things to talk about today. But to kick it off, this is always my opening question. What do creatives need to know is possible today?
Oh, I say anything literally is possible. I say be bold and go after what you really want. Life is too short not to do it. My husband thinks I'm totally crazy. And when I said, hey, I'm going to start this social media bit where I'm going to just kind of share knowledge, he's like, yeah, it's not going to go anywhere. And it grew because I didn't stop working on it. And it's been absolutely crazy. So it's like, they can do anything. They can do anything. And we're in such a space right now in the world where people want the creative to do stuff, right? People want experiences. People want to come to shows. People want to watch videos. People want all of that creativity. So we need the people to make all of it, right? So it's the perfect time for creatives to come out of their shells and do what they want.
Yeah. Oh, that message speaks very, very deeply to me. And it's hard. It's hard to, kind of break the societal norms of this is what your day-to-day should look like, and it should be boring, and you should sell half of your soul away, and to really just step into, I have a crazy idea and I'm going to try it and see what happens. Side tangent. Have you ever seen Seussical the Musical?
I have.
You said anything is possible, and I instantly thought of
theater on my brain. I speak in theater. Yeah. I especially speak in musicals. Musicals are my favorite.
Perfect. Oh man. All right. Big question today. So what inspired you to launch Tech Girl Jen on social media?
I think my job isn't the most creative job in the world, my day to day. And I spend a lot of time helping people with technology. Like I think about all the calls I've had with my mother or my brother or that person down the hall that are like, hey, how do you do this? And I can just spit out that information. And so I peruse TikTok all the time and Insta, and I'm seeing what people are doing, and they're doing the most simple things. But to me, like what's missing? And I thought, you know what? I have all this knowledge. Maybe I'll just start recording it, right? Store it away. Maybe I'll write a book. Maybe I'll, have a checklist of things or something, a guide. I'm like, I'm just going to start making these videos. So I started making videos with AI. I thought AI is the future. So let me teach people how to use AI. I started diving into ChatGPT and some of the other sites like the Google one and the Bing, right? And I did a video and it completely flopped. It was just like, blah, right? It hit the media and nothing happened. And I thought, oh, this isn't going to be able to work. So then I'm looking around. I'm like, well, what else can I teach people? And I'm like, well, maybe there's a website that's really cool that I could show people. And my husband said, you're going way beyond what you need to do. He's like, teach people the simple things like how to get to the settings on their phone or, how to clean up their email or, how to free up space, like the things that I don't even know. And it like a light bulb went off in my head. And I'm like, he's so right. Like I was going beyond what my audience needed because people, they're just not engaged. They just didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
So I put out something that I'm like, the most simplest thing. And because my motto has always been, teach it to someone like you're teaching it to a fifth grader.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it out and it just took off. I remember the very first video that really got some traction was me telling people about this secret trick where you could tap the back of your phone. If you have an iPhone, you could tap the Apple and you can program that specific command to do different things on your phone. That video took off. Some people, it was funny because a lot of people liked it and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. My mind is blown. And I showed them, oh, you could basically work your flashlight or you can take a screenshot. You can program it to do whatever you want. And then I had other people that were like, oh, this is a scam. This is such a scam. She's lying. It was so funny just
It was
watching.
too good to be true.
Right. Like they didn't
I
believe it. Like,
guess.
why would I have any reason to get on there and be like, so I'm going to lie to you today and I'm going to tell you some garbage that's just not true. But apparently it was just crazy. But like after that, I just started writing down all of the things that I thought people would want to know that maybe they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I started looking through my settings and I'm like, things that I take for granted that I know automatically, a lot of people don't. And so my husband now, he's kind of become my muse. So I usually he's kind of like my gauge. So he's my muse, but he's also my gauge. So when I do something, I'll let him watch the video first. And if he's like, oh my God, this is amazing. I didn't know that. Then I'm like, okay, this is going to be a winner. And I'll put it out there. And it's been consistent that the videos that he didn't know I've taught him something basically reaches my audience and it does well. And then the things that he's like, meh, I really don't care about that. They don't do well. It's crazy. So that's
So you
the
have your own
long,
little
short
test subject
story.
in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible. So what's the journey been like? Or give me the full kind of like timeline of when you launched Tech Girl Jen and kind of what the trajectory has looked like for you.
So I launched in March. So I was in the middle of uh, trying to plan out my black box theater, right? I've had this dream of opening a black box theater for a long time. And so I'm working on my business plan. And then I'm kind of doing this on the side because the creative brain has to stay busy. And when work wasn't so busy at the time, or the work wasn't something that I was passionate about, then I needed to get that energy from something else. I wasn't involved in a show actively. Uh, I wasn't doing any of that stuff. So I'm working on the business plan. And so I start making these videos in March. Launched the first one like mid-March. And every month, like I watched it grow. The first month it grew to like 1,000 people. I was like, wow, 1,000 people really are
That's
following
a
me.
lot.
Right. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, 1,000 people. And then the next month it was like April, I think I hit 20,000. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then I'm on vacation in like June and I'm watching the numbers come in and I hit like 75,000. Now this is Instagram. The Instagram growth was crazy fast. TikTok
Hmm.
took a while. I sat at about 8,000 followers for the longest time until a really popular video went out, and then that kind of skyrocketed me and pushed me to 50,000. But and it just kept going. And in my brain, I'm thinking, this is going to stop. Like, this is going to slow down. There's no
Hmm.
way that this is going to keep going. And it just kept going because people would get on and then they would tell me they love the tip. And then they're talking to other people and they're sharing the tip, they're sending the tip. So I'm having almost more people send it and share it than favorite it. Right. So, and you look at all the numbers, you look at the views. The views are the first thing that anybody looks at, but it's really not the views that are the most important. It's what people are doing with it. Like, are they saving it? Because if they're saving the content, they're coming back. If they're not, then they're liking it or they're sharing it with someone. So it just kind of organically started to grow. And just in the last month, I mean, I've probably grown 50,000. And when I crossed over to 200, it comes to the point now where it's like, oh my gosh, this is like real. These people are now depending on me to bring
Uh-huh.
them good content. And and at night I lay in my bed and I think, what if I run out of stuff to talk about?
Oh
It's so
no.
terrifying. And then I'm like, no, I'm not going to run out of stuff. I'm like, iOS 17 is coming. Stick to the iPhone. There's more stuff, right? But that's kind of how it was. It was just I consistently put out a video. I tried to put a schedule together for me because I'm also, I'm working my full-time job. I'm doing that. I'm still trying to work out my business plan. I've got all these things going on. And of course, then I get pulled
Hmm.
into a show and I'm doing costumes for Shrek the musical, trying to do that. So
Oh my gosh.
juggling all of these things. And my ADHD brain is like, yeah, this is what we like. This is what we like. We want to do all the things. And I just kept it going, and the videos didn't take that long. Like, once I learned to I used the video software. I could do it on my phone. I would literally shoot a
Hmm.
video in the car and while my husband would drive, and then I would, before we got to our destination, I would already have it edited and posted. So it wasn't a big time suck at all, which is, I think, what
Hmm.
made it easy for me to stay consistent and just post every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been
So you were posting every day
I was
for
supposed to,
how
yeah. So
long?
my strategy, once I decided I needed a strategy and I wasn't just going to willy-nilly post things, right? I was posting every day and I would post the same content to both platforms. But you have
Hmm.
to be very careful when you do that because you can't have so I would have to edit them twice because you can't have the watermarks on either. And then I would usually take a Sunday off. Sunday was kind of like my day of rest. I would just like
Hmm.
not post, maybe catch up on DMs. And then I started doing lives on Saturdays. So I do a Saturday live. So I did one at noon, and then I would try to do one at 7. And I kind of tested the waters each week to see, when they were most popular. And then people started showing up from other countries on my lives, from Paris, from Australia, from Israel. I had someone on there from Israel. Like, I couldn't believe it. And one of the things I absolutely love
Wow.
to do in the lives are I always ask people to drop where they're from because I just want a gauge to see what's my reach, right? And to know that
Hmm.
I've reached out and I've got someone in Israel that they've learned something from me sitting here in Ohio is like crazy talk. It's just crazy. It's
I love as
wild.
you're like sharing all of this, like when you talk about reach, you're not talking about the number of people who see it. You're talking about the extent of your audience, how global it's become, which I agree. I think it's one of the most I think you talk to any content creator and the first time they have people from other countries tuning in, it's like, wait, somebody in Norway cares about me? Like, wait, what? I want to know. I want to meet this
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
um, yeah.
It's so crazy, but it's so powerful too. And I don't know why. I mean, I love
Hmm.
that people in the United States are following me, right? But just to know that your reach and you're able to make an impact on a level like that, and how social media is that vessel for us to be able, for creatives to be able to do that. Not that, I don't know that I can say that technology is all that creative. It's teaching is a creative field, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I get to do a little bit of performance when I'm on the video. I call myself an edutainer, basically. That's what I'm doing. I'm teaching
Mm-hmm.
people, but I'm, you know, just kind of doing it in a way that's comfortable, right? And fun for them.
Yeah,
But it's it's just amazing to be able to have that kind of reach as a creative.
absolutely. I want to reiterate too the point you brought up about of not necessarily caring about how many people see it, but how many people are interacting with the content. Like that's what you're cluing into, which I think is, I feel like seeing it, if you compare it to instructional design, that's like comparison of in one ear and out the other. But
Yeah.
but when somebody comments or saves it or shares it, suddenly you have a level of engagement that tells you that, oh, this person is actually taking what I'm putting out there in and they're learning something,
Yeah.
which as an entertainer, I imagine is like more rewarding than just eyeballs on your video.
It is. It is. It's like when you get that standing ovation when you're on stage, right? And people have engaged and they really loved your performance, or even just getting a clap or a laugh in a funny moment. Like those are things that we need. We need that feedback. It's so important. That's exactly what it's like, just to know that they're sharing it out. And the messages that come in, like the DMs that I get, which are really, really, that's probably my biggest pain point right now, is trying to manage all those, because I make it a goal to
Oof.
message, to answer everybody. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're dealing with the significant amount of people, it's really hard to get to everybody as quickly as you need to. But when I get messages like, a lady once told me that she shared something with her mother, and the grandma was so proud that she taught the grandkids, and it was like this effect that nobody knew how to do it. And I get messages from people who think that they just don't have the skills, and that I empowered them, right, to show someone else how to do it, and it made them feel good. It was like this whole like pay it forward feeling that I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of started. It's
Hmm.
incredible. It's incredible.
That's amazing. Hey there, creative. I have a delightful invitation just for you. Imagine diving even deeper into the incredible world of living your life as an empowered creative, including more tips, tricks, and advice arriving straight into your inbox. Sounds pretty cool, right? Well, guess what? I've got something special brewing, and I don't want you to miss out. Introducing my oh so awesome bi weekly email newsletter. It's a vibrant community bursting with passion, curiosity, and the love of building a creative life. By joining my newsletter, you'll get first access to new promotions and launches, as well as my welcoming voice in your ear every other week. Also, I'll share with you my creative career audit worksheet, a secret tool myself and clients have used during our own career transitions and pivots. So don't miss this opportunity to be my pen pal, as well as deepen your connection with fellow empowered creatives by heading to www.victoriahines.com or following the link in the show notes below. Thank you for being such an incredible listener, and I really look forward to sharing this exciting journey with you through both the podcast and my newsletter. Now, let's dive back into the show. What have been some of your key tactics in building this audience that you have now? I know consistency was definitely something for you, but are there any other key tactics that have been really a part of your success? And we'll talk about the challenges in a second, but I know a lot of people, I mean, a lot of us creatives, we also struggle with social media. So, yeah,
Yeah.
any advice?
Well, I'm extroverted, so I don't struggle with it as much, right? I know introverts can struggle a little bit more. A lot of people don't like to show their face on social media. A lot of people struggle with getting that first video out, and then they, really start judging themselves as far as, oh my gosh, what do I look like? Why was my hair like that? Oh, I didn't have enough makeup on that day. Why was I wearing that shirt? Like all of these things. But for me, I think that aside from being consistent, I just tried to listen to what the audience was saying. I would read the comments on the videos. Maybe I didn't respond to all of them. I would try to heart them, right? But reading the comments and just paying attention to who my audience was, realizing that my audience was not millennials, right? My audience was
Mm-hmm.
not Gen Z or Gen Y. My
Mm-hmm.
audience was Gen X. My audience was the boomers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's who was following me. So I needed to think about, like, if I have those people in a room, how am I going to teach them what keeps their attention? Obviously, if I was teaching to millennials, I have to think differently. Like, they want things quick right now. Here we go. But these other generations, they have the patience to sit and listen, and they wanted it to go step by step. A lot of people would say, slow down on the videos. And so I would slow down and I would break it apart a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more. Some people wanted guides. So I would create guides and things like that for some of the more complex topics. But paying attention to who my audience was, I think, was really important. And then studying other social media influencers, looking through their feed, seeing, you know, what do they do to grab the attention? You have 3 seconds, basically, we're told, to grab someone's attention when you put a video
Mm-hmm.
out on social. And if you haven't grabbed someone's attention in 3 seconds, they're scrolling past your video. You're not gonna get that view, right? So that's the hook. They call that the hook, right? And I have to think,
Mm-hmm.
what's my hook for these people? Luckily, I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm able to capture that audience because I know them very well.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
boomers are a little harder, and you have to have, a little bit more patience because they're not as good with technology. But they're the ones who as I was putting everything out, I realized they're the ones that really need the help. And then at that point, the light bulb went off that this is the huge gap that this work is filling. These people just don't have the support in any of this, and they feel embarrassed to have to ask their kids, to have to ask their grandkids, to have to ask relatives, hey, how do I do some simple task? So these are the things that I teach are very empowering for them. So knowing the audience, being consistent, paying attention to what they really need, and understanding the generational differences.
Yeah. I think you touched on something that's so key is just knowing the problem you're addressing. And I think that can be really difficult. I think for, edutainers or coaches or somebody who's like offering a product or service, it can be maybe a little bit easier of like, okay, this is the problem. I've done all this research. But I think especially for some creatives, it can be like, well, I'm just creating really cool art. Like what problem am I solving? But I don't know. I'm thinking back and I'm like, well, why do I like watching people make art on Instagram?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, oh yeah, there is a problem that's solving for me. I love watching it because it's calming to me. It's meditating. It fills me with joy. And sometimes in my 9 to 5 job life, I'm not always filled with joy. So having that place where I get to watch somebody
Totally.
be completely consumed in their joy, like that's solving a problem.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's filling that mental health gap that we have, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
such a gap there. I admit, before I go to bed, Bob Ross is on my TV. Why? Because I love it.
Mm-hmm.
He's making his trees, and you're like, no way that's going to be it. Oh my gosh, Bob, that is an amazing tree. you know, like, it's so
Yep.
calming. And then you have all the ASMR stuff of people doing different things creatively, people just playing with like goo and pulling it apart and putting it through. Like, have you seen these?
Mm-hmm.
There's all these crazy videos.
I'm not
So
as much into ASMR, but I understand like
it's
what the
just
attraction is there.
yeah, it's just somewhat satisfying in a strange way, but the art and the calming I totally get because yeah, I do that too. And you need
Yeah.
that from your 9 to 5 because I can also relate. There are moments when it's not all peaches and cream and calming, especially if we're not completely doing what we want to do, right? We're doing the things that
Hmm.
we need to do, but we're not able to do the things that we want to do. So we need that extra
Yeah,
support.
absolutely. What are some of the myths that you realized when you launched Tech Girl Gen were kind of false and traps that you might have fallen into if you kept following that advice?
Oh yeah. So I followed a lot of people who were into like affiliate marketing. That's kind of
Hmm.
where I started. Like I learned about the social media piece from taking the dumb $7 course or whatever. They always talk about the $7 course that's out there. I took the course and I actually learned what it was all about and watching them. The problem was I thought that, hey, this is going to take off real quick and there's going to be money. Like there's going to be money here. There's not money there. I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, I'm the poorest social media influencer on the planet because a lot of people are showing video of they're buying these beautiful homes and these cars and they're giving money to strangers and they're doing all of these things and they have less followers than me. And my husband's like, why are you not making money? And I'm like, I think it's a misconception. Not everybody it's
Mhm.
influencing, everybody's influencing in a different way. So there was that, right? Um, and then other misconceptions of social media. Okay, that everybody's going to, like your stuff. You get a lot of mean comments, and you should never interact with them. Never,
Mhm.
ever.
Yep. Yep.
So not realizing that the type of, comments that pop up, you have to, really careful. And then another misconception, I think, is that lives are easy.
Ooh, yeah. No.
My first
Nope.
live, I was terrified because I thought, and I just do like Q&A lives where people pop in, they drop questions in the chat, and I just
Mhm.
spitfire, try to answer as many as I can for like 30 minutes. And I was terrified. I said, what if they don't ask any questions? What am I going to talk about?
Mhm.
You know, and Instagram was where I started with lives, and it was okay. But the first time I did one on TikTok, I had 5 people show up and nobody
Mhm.
talked. Nobody
Yep.
talked.
Yep. I've been
And
there.
I
Oh
I
my
didn't know
gosh,
what to
I've been
do. And
there.
I'm like, just keep going. But I didn't like I don't know what happened. Like the performer in me shut down and didn't know what to do because nobody was engaging and I was just speaking to a screen and I felt super silly. So I barely made it 15 minutes on TikTok, my first live. I just couldn't. But Instagram got easier because people would come and they would ask questions. And so it gave me something to do.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, lives are not easy and you need to prepare for anything because you get trolls that pop in, or I like to call keyboard warriors and they'll start dropping the meanest things and you have to be ready to just immediately kick them
Mhm.
out or have somebody moderating for you because you're trying to catch up with the questions. It's running so fast, you're writing things down if you come across something you don't know, it's like, I need some time to think about that. Drop me a DM. Like there's so much happening
Mhm.
and people make it look so easy. If you've ever popped into a live randomly and some people, it just looks so easy, but it's not easy. I don't think it's
No.
easy.
Not at all. It's a new skill set and you go from being a content creator to a live host,
Yeah,
which comes with its own hurdles. It's very rewarding when it works, and it's terrifying when it falls apart.
it
I'll
is,
admit
but you have to remain composed, right? And when
Mhm.
that moment of panic strikes you, you can't just open your eyes full blast and start heavy breathing and having a panic attack on screen. You just keep going. So it's kind of like when you're on stage and you drop your line and you look at your partner and they know they have a line next and you're waiting for them to say your line because you can't remember it. And then they save you and then you move on.
Yep. Yep. Oh,
Very
100%.
similar.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I do have a question. Kind of with launching this major social media brand, you've talked about how consistency is key. You're making small videos, you were showing up every day, and you're trying to answer every single DM. You have a full-time job.
I do.
You also are building a business plan
Time to put my
for
getting a headache, so I have to put my glasses on.
your glasses on.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a full-time job and you're building a business plan for your dream black box theater. And you're also have a spouse and a home and everything else that comes with it, along with being an adult human being. So how in the world do you avoid burnout and the hustle culture with this new social media influencer life?
Um, well, I don't avoid burnout. It's real and it happens, right? To be blatantly honest. Uh, I think sometimes I have to remind myself that it's okay to take a day off, and
Yeah.
just go swim in the pool with my kids because I also have four teenagers at home. So
Oh
it's
my
a
gosh. I knew you had kids, but I did not know how
yeah, and
many.
it's a busy space. I mean, maybe not as busy when they were younger because they all basically stay in their rooms now. So it's so weird. They don't do anything. But anyway,
Yeah.
allowing myself to take time off um, is important, and pacing myself and trying to schedule things out. I'm getting to the point now where the schedule is becoming important. I can't just fly by the seat of my pants and just post whatever I'm thinking that day. It has to be planned out ahead of time so I can look at the calendar and go, this is what's happening on Friday. Yeah, burnout is a thing. As far as the theaters had to take a back seat during all of this.
Hmm.
It's not forgotten. Poor thing. It's
Yeah.
it's not forgotten. And every now and then I get a call from a realtor that says, "Hey, I have a space for you to come look at that could work for your theater." But until that all falls into place, focusing on the social and then working my day job is kind of where I have to be. And I think that
Hmm.
just like this has organically grown, I think that will all kind of grow in its own time. And I just have to be patient. Like I can't force it. I never forced
Yeah.
the social. I just let it be and just said it was going to be whatever it is going to be. And I'm just going to ride the wave. And I think with the theater, I have to do that too.
Hmm.
Dream state, the social's going, the social is, it is filling my passion, my performance, but then I can also open the space and maybe the 9 to 5 is something I can finally hang my hat up and,
Yeah.
walk from and be a success story that I can share with other people and maybe encourage them to, do what they really want to do. Just know that it takes time, but it can happen. Anything can
Yeah.
happen. You just have to work at it.
And it's not overnight.
No, no,
Yeah.
it's definitely not overnight.
Not overnight at all. So, what advice would you give to an artist who is looking to feel more confident today?
Know that you're good at what you're good at, right? I think a lot of us don't realize how good we are at things. So, hold your head up and know that
Mm,
you're great at that thing, so do it. Don't stop judging yourself. That's something that can really hold you back if you just put so much judgment on yourself. And as humans,
yeah.
we naturally do that. But, don't judge yourself, I would say, and be bold. Don't be afraid to take risks because failing forward is still a positive thing. You can always fail forward. You learn from failure and you just pick yourself up and you go. It's kind of like Gumby. We're all like Gumby. We just fall down. Maybe we get squashed a little bit and we just stand back up and we keep going.
Bounce back up again. Yeah.
That's right. Like
Oh,
Gumby.
absolutely. All right, Jen, how can we keep in touch with you?
Well, you can follow me on the socials. So on Instagram, I'm on TikTok. I am on Facebook. So I also have a website. It's just techgirljen.com and my link is in my bio, right? Like everybody says. So yeah, you can follow me out there. And if you send a DM, I will get to you eventually. I promise.
Eventually the
But
list. Oh,
eventually,
yes.
eventually. And I always tell people, and even if I'm not for you, there's somebody that I may be for that so
Yep.
pass me along if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you so much for being on the show, Jen.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's so crazy wild to talk about this journey, but it's been so fun. It's been so fun.
All right, creative, here is your one thing this week. I want you to fail forward. What's one thing you've been scared of doing in your creative career or business? Maybe it's reaching out to a dream collaborator, engaging your ideal audience in a candid conversation about what they need, doing a live on social media, or sharing your work in progress. Whatever it is, Jen and I want to challenge you to fail forward this week. All right, don't forget, if you enjoyed this podcast, the best way you can show me some love and help me to grow this incredible audience and share these incredible guest wisdom with more and more people is to rate, review, and subscribe. With that being said, until the next time, stay creative.